we are getting another point of view, Singh sir, because this is something that we want to talk about, which has raised a lot of concerns and questions. The US now seems to be doubling down on its claim amid the controversy over the so-called Russian oil waiver. Washington now says that India has already stopped the purchase of sanctioned Russian oil and described New Delhi as a responsible actor on the issue. US officials, however, clarified that the permission given to India is only temporary and applies strictly to Russian oil shipments that are already at sea before sanctions came into effect. But as far as this waiver claim that has now come in from Scott Bessent, it seems that the opposition has now taken up this opportunity, and especially on the terminology that is now being used on part of the US administration, to raise questions on the Indian government. The words such as allowed, permitted, good actors, all of them now seems to be highlighted on part of the Congress and the opposition, where there seems to be raising questions as to asking if India has now become a subordinate state and why in the first place India needs permission from US when it comes to the purchase of Russian oil. However, Akansha, that clarity is needed that India never stopped buying Russian oil.
Absolutely, and that's a statement that is coming from the government, that we really never stop buying the Russian oil, but opposition has targeted the government, asking how US can permit and allow it to buy the Russian oil. Let me take you through the statements that have come in from the Congress leader. This is from Jairam Ramesh. He said that the US Treasury Secretary has given the Modi government a certificate for faithfully following President Trump's order. Does anything more needed to be said about how cowardly and compromised the self-proclaimed 56-inch chest has become? This is something that the Congress has posted on their official page. They have mentioned ceasefire announced by Trump, oil policy announced by Trump, Russian oil permission from Trump. Is India's foreign policy now written in the White House? What exactly is Modi doing is the question Congress party is asking. Also, let me also take you through what Pawan Khera has put out as far as this statement by Scott Bessent is concerned. He has said Modi does what the master says. Scott Bessent, the US Treasury Secretary, has just revealed how Washington views India. According to him, the US has asked to stop buying Russian oil, and we complied. He even called India a very good actor. Washington polite way of calling us, in fact, a pushover that never says no. So this is how the Congress party has reacted to it. Not just the Congress party, several other opposition leaders are coming to the fore. They're saying, how can, as far as US is concerned, allow and permit India to buy the Russian oil?
Well, Shivam, is the opposition memory being selective rather than in believing what the US leaders have been saying in the statements and not our own as far as the government of India is concerned? Because clearly it has been pointed out that when it comes to market dynamics, India first has always been the policy.
Clearly, Amita, with Congress and with the opposition party, it has been the strategy to shoot from the shoulders of what the United States is saying. Since the starting of this entire conflict, we have seen how Congress and the other opposition parties keep questioning the current BJP government, the current ruling government, on their stance. First, to start with condemning it and supporting Iran. Then it happened with going and signing it in the embassy. And now, finally, the kind of comments that are coming in from US has given another opportunity to the opposition parties to again put the BJP in the hotspot and questioning that why the current government is not responding with the tough remarks. They are saying that why US is again reiterating the fact that it is the United States, it is their government which is allowing us, permitting us, and are calling us a good actors in following their command. And is it going to be the new normal, that whether the current regime will follow the footsteps and will follow the orders coming in from the United States? However, as you rightly mentioned, the government has reiterated that they never stopped buying oil, stopped buying these from Russia. There was some major part which was
that has been the
reduced,
political aspect for it. But Major General G.G. Dwivedi, sir, what do you believe as far as the military aspect is concerned? Because the Strait of Hormuz being impacted, Iran has been daring, despite the US assurance coming in that, US Navy will escort the ships and the tankers who have been stuck at sea. Nobody seems to be, willing to take that kind of a risk.
Wars have different dimensions, different planes. They are fought on the battlefield. They are fought on the economic zones. And of course, they are fought on the boardrooms, also in the political domain. Now, coming primarily, basically, the wars are fought on the military aims and objectives. And of course, political objectives are also interlinked. Now, very important to understand that this war has very clearly three military objectives. That was to weaken the Iranian capability in terms of nuclear, as also in terms of missiles, destroy the naval forces, and also degrade the Iranian capability to nurture and support the proxy wars. And of course, political aim was the regime change or have a favorable regime. Now, in the military dimensions, we are on the day 8 of the war, and Americans and Israelis have gone hammer and tong to take out the military potential of Iranians, that is hitting their missile bases. Now the war in the 8th day is more on the strategic dimension. They are not so much going for the tactical or the precision objective. They are rather going for the major installations and also the industrial capacity. Now coming to the waterway, you see, Hormuz is a very, very important critical waterway because 20% of the global oil flow through it and is currently de facto. It is blocked because no tankers are passing through because there have been 2 instances that the tankers have been hit. Now, Americans have taken on that they will ensure the waterway of Hormuz is kept open, and that's another major operation by itself because it means physically creating the corridors where the tankers can move or operate, and also on the land to ensure that Iranians are kept subdued or they are kept suppressed so as not to fire the missiles or drones across. So the point I'm trying to make is that waterway is very, very important because it impacts the economy not only of the region, of the globe. And in fact, interestingly, India imports 50% of its oil from the Gulf region. So I think it will be very critical. And to my mind, just one point, that it may quite happen that international forces created to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz is kept open because it impacts the economy of the globe per se. Over to you.
All right. Dwivedi sir and Singh sir, thank you very much for joining in.